So maybe what we'll start by doing is for the speakers, we'll quickly do a round of introduction and then maybe sort of highlight what is it that sort of we're specialized in or our background. So just so we know how we can sort of channel the different questions and the different announcements. The other thing that I'll do is I'll just post a few topics that I was really interested in that, I got really excited when I saw them being announced at Ignite, and then we'll spark the conversation. So I'll start with myself. I'm Rami. I am based in Wellington, New Zealand, and my background is mainly around sort of the development space, but I've been in the Dynamics 365 space for 15 years or so, and in Dataverse for as long as Dataverse has been around. So I got really excited with some of those sort of lower level sort of fusion dev or sort of pro dev type of announcements that were made, and definitely I'll talk about them. We're currently working on some really large projects, and I see a lot of those being sort of applicable there. So I'll hand over to Marianne. Marianne, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yep, I'm actually similar to Rami's, but not on the dev side, more on the functional consultant side. So I've started with the CRM 4.0 version, and up to now, still doing CRM. Just shows how I love CRM. But I've been into business analysis for quite some time when I was at Datacom. But now I'm back into doing more techie stuff and doing more configurations, learning Power Automate and all that awesome. Yeah.
Emerging MVP. You'll.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
All right,
Neil.
Neil, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. Hi, Rami, how did I get nominated as a speaker for this thing? I just wanted to turn up as an attendee, say hello to all my Kiwi friends. I haven't been to Ignite.
Neil.
I haven't seen any of the content yet, so I'm here to hang out, find out what's hot, what's happening, and yeah, share my thoughts. I just looked it up. So Chris is a veteran MVP, but I have a couple more awards than you, Chris. I was 2010, I think. So yeah, old school kind of CRM and now Power Platform, Dynamics 365 customer engagement guy, and I love helping people build business applications with Scrum. So I'm all things agile. Looking forward to finding out all about Ignite.
Absolutely, yep. Absolutely. I should have mentioned actually, Neil, you were my inspiration to write my book. I remember you wrote a book, and I sort of pinged you and I asked you about some helps and tips on how to do that, and eventually that's actually what led me to become an MVP. So you're a big fan of mine, Neil, and Chris. I think you don't remember that, but about 10 years ago, I was actually in a Convergence or one of those conferences. And then I saw you in the elevator, and I used to follow you, sort of in the world, whatever that world was back then. And then I saw you there. I was like, oh my God, he's one of the gods. I should touch him. And I talked to you, and that was my first interaction with a CRM. Yeah, it's a CRM MVP back then. So again, you are one of my my inspirations, basically, to become an MVP. So over to you, Chris. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I remember. Sorry, Chris. I remember that email you sent me. You said, Neil, your book's terrible. I'm going to do better. Watch this.
Sorry, well, hey, everybody. I'm Chris Cognetta. I'm the CTIO at Congruent X. I'm one of your 10-year business solution MVPs. I'm joining you from the United States. It's about 12 a.m. my time. And if you see any shoes come flying in the window, that's my wife or my children hollering at me for my Italian voice. I've been known as the infrastructure MVP in the beginning, doing all the ADFS and the upgrades and the installations, but lately been a low-code, no-code guy, working on Power Apps and adoption to the platform, along with cloud migration. So glad to be here with you all on your afternoon Friday, and I bought a drink to toast up with you guys, and
nice.
Thanks. Glad to be here with everybody.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for being there. Elaiza.
Hello. I'm in the same suburb as Lynn, so Lynn, we probably could have done this at each other's house. But yeah, so I started with Dynamics CRM4 back in 2009. So I grew up with Dynamics CRM, and then I picked up Power Automate in 2018. So I did an EDX Power Platform course by one of our other fellow MVPs in the United States, Shane Young. And through that course, that's how I fell in love with Power Automate. So I'm now known as the Power Automate person. So I have a YouTube series called What the Flow. So if you aren't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. And in the last 2 years, I've also gotten into AI Builder. I really love AI Builder. And yeah, I'll be doing a session on it at next week's New Zealand Business Application Summit. So maybe I'll see some of you there. So yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Elaiza. You're our local celebrity that we always refer to and talk about. Cool.
I'm just a human.
Lynn.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm quite similar to Rami, based in Wellington, started as a technical background, and my main focus is Dynamics 365, and now doing Power Apps, small German app mostly, and Power Automate in those areas, especially in the cloud flow, but hasn't touched into the other part of the Power Automate, like desktop flows and stuff. And that's it.
Awesome. And last but not least, we've got Michael with us. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Mute. There we go. Find the mute button. So hi, Michael Bailey. I'm a technical specialist for business applications at Microsoft, based here in Wellington. I'm a Microsoft baby. I'm about 2 months into my Microsoft journey. You guys are all gods as far as I'm concerned. But I do come with a bit of experience going back to the year 2002 or so with CRM. This is Right Now Technologies, if everyone remembers that name. They got acquired by Oracle. So I went to Oracle, and then I spent the last 4 years at Pegasystems. So I've been around the traps, and I'm keen to help you guys be successful.
Awesome. As much as I would love the others to introduce themselves, we're probably sort of running short on time, so we'll stick to the speakers for now. But yeah, thank you guys for, and especially Elaiza, for mentioning the New Zealand Business Application Summit that is happening not tomorrow, Saturday, but the following Saturday. So we are very, very lucky to get Samir Banushali as well as Ryan Cunningham as our keynote speakers to sort of introduce the event, which is really, really awesome. It is a virtual event, so we're going to have it sort of online. And it's going to cross the 3 main cities in New Zealand, but given that it's virtual, it doesn't matter where we are. We even have some speakers coming from Australia. So a lot of good content to be there. Lynn, Marianne, Elaiza are presenting. We've got Hamish, Richard, there's heaps of people presenting. I'm not going to name them all, but yeah, it's going to be awesome. So if you haven't registered and you're interested, please do so.
Cool. I didn't know it was online. My last international trip with my wife was for the New Zealand Business Application Summit in Auckland.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's those were the days. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of paste a few topics that have been announced at Ignite sort of in the chat window. Feel free to add more if you are sort of interested in talking about some specific ones. But maybe what I'll start by saying is just some of the highlights that I saw, and then we'll open the floor for some sort of conversation between the few of us. And then everybody in the audience, feel free to put your hand up or to unmute yourself and just to share some, something that you're interested in. Sort of on top of my list, and one of the biggest announcements that we've heard today or over the last couple of days is the pay as you go for the Power Platform. And I think this is a big deal. It's a big deal for me because one of our challenges is always when you go in front of a customer, they ask you like, how many licenses do we have to buy? We've got 1,000 staff in there, and they all want to use that application, and it's way too expensive. So how to actually deal with that? So with pay as you go, they're actually giving us the option to basically, pay for whatever you're using. And this is great on a couple of levels. So if you've got a big application that you want to roll out to the rest of the sort of organization and you want to roll it out gradually, you don't want to license everybody to start using it. That might be too expensive. So what you might start by doing is rolling it out, and then whoever is using it will be charged for that usage, and whoever is not using it will not. Similarly, I see with, let's say, HR systems where you want it to be available to everybody, but you don't want to license everybody to use it. So you might say, all right, well, it's available there. Whoever goes and uses it will be paid for it. So it helps with that sort of massive scale of sort of usage. So basically, things will become significantly cheaper, and user adoption is going to increase as well. So what do you guys think? Like, how do you see that fit in the organizations that you work with?
Well, it's not only that, you got to tell the other part of the story. The other part of the story is the fact that now that you don't need a license to have that app, and you can have an externally facing app with the native Power Apps, you put that all together. Now you can take these apps and actually deploy them in the Apple and the Google Play stores, and people that can consume them. It's not just your internal folks anymore or people in your tenant. Now outside customers can consume these Power App tools that we all been drooling over to give to them. That's really what's going to spark this, in my opinion, along with the Azure consumption model that you mentioned, Rami,
really
right?
Nicely.
The pay-as-you-go. That's a huge announcement. Can't wait to take some product there and really test it out and see, how it works. I do know that the pay-as-you-go model is working off of the Azure consumption model. So you tie it to an Azure subscription. So they're leveraging that whole usage model through Azure. So they didn't have to build anything additional. It's already tool sets that we use. And that's great. So I just can't wait to push these out and see and break down that wall that we've had for quite a few years.
Absolutely. Elaiza, were you going to add something in there?
No, I was just agreeing to what Chris was saying about tying it to an Azure subscription.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that App Store story, I really love that. I mean, historically we've been sort of having to download that sort of the Power Apps application on your phone, and then within that you would see sort of the different applications. Whereas now it's giving you that native experience that you would get sort of as a first class app or first native app that is available in there. And I also see a lot of usage for that for your sort of private sort of stores. So using MDM solutions, or actually just keeping it within your organization, but giving that feel of a first-party app that is installed on your phone or on your device, and being able to use it. So do you guys see that as an option to be used in specific organizations or in specific industries?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, coming back to the pay-as-you-go model, Rami, one of the things I'm really excited about that is a feature of pay-as-you-go that I hope they bring over to the monthly user subscription is this concept of container. So you can have in your Azure subscription a resource group, and you can name that after a department, right? So if that department is paying for the application, rather than it just coming out of a central pool of costs like it is today, where typically the IT department pays for Dataverse and all the apps that run on it, and has to figure out who's using what and how many licenses are used by different departments and recharge them. And it's challenging to manage that internally. With the new pay-as-you-go model, you can just set up a container, a resource group for that department, and all their costs are contained. Now you can send them the bill directly. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Case with Azure for a while, right? So whenever you're doing, building infrastructure and services within Azure, you can use that model. And finally, this is coming to the Power Platform, which is absolutely fantastic. Awesome. So moving to the next topic, the co-authoring experience. Something that I've known that is coming out, and I've been sort of dying to tell my customers about it, and finally now it's being announced. So it's really awesome, first of all, to be able to sort of go into a Canvas app, for example, to be able to comment on those Canvas apps or Power Automate, to see sort of give feedback on how this is going and how this is being built, but also sort of the demo that they had in there is sort of more around making sure that you can co-author a Canvas app at the same time. And it's a natural progression that has been coming for a while. So, we talked about, extracting your Canvas app, getting the YAML file out of your Canvas app, and then sort of being able to integrate it with your Git repository, being able to do the merges so that you can see things changing and so on, which is sort of the precursor to finally being able to do the co-authoring, and then clicking that refresh button and then refreshing the different parts of your Canvas app and seeing, wow, someone else was working on that and now they've updated that part and I've been working at the exact time on that part. I love that. I think this has a lot of potential and will unlock that sort of experience where you try to work on something and then you can't because it's locked by someone else, and you get frustrated and you go and ask them to get out of it and so on. It's really absolutely amazing. Do you guys see that sort of working within your teams as well?
I think we should do like a hackathon like that, I bet, and put a whole bunch of people that have to work together to build a solution. I think that would be pretty interesting webinar.
Yeah, well,
absolutely. Try to break it.
One of the things that I also noticed is, just to extend on the co-authoring that was showcased during Microsoft Ignite, was the theme of collaboration. So it doesn't only stop with the co-authoring experience that we're now going to see in Power Apps, Power Automate, and now Power Virtual Agent in the future, but also the collaborative experience from working within the Dynamics 365 apps and your other colleagues, or even in Microsoft Teams. I'll just talk about those two first. So I'll first talk about working with your colleagues within the Dynamics 365 apps directly. So in one of the demos by Laurie Lampkin, so she's the Vice President for Dynamics 365 Sales, Marketing, and Customer Service. The customer showcase that they were doing was Sandvik Cormet. So she was, in her talk, she was demoing how you could be a salesperson looking at an actual record in the Dynamics 365 Sales app, and then you can launch a conversation from within that record with another colleague. And it could also give you some suggestions. So that's when we started seeing the inbuilt AI capabilities, where it would show you people who have worked with this customer before, or people who are actually owners of that particular product that you're selling to that customer. So I thought that was really cool. But then on the other side of collaboration, we saw the magic of Microsoft Loop in Microsoft Teams. So that was in Jared Spataro's keynote, which was after Satya's opening keynote. And that really blew my mind. So Microsoft Loop is this new app that they've introduced for exactly that, collaboration. And there's 3 different areas of Microsoft Loop. There's the Microsoft Loop workspace, there's a Microsoft Loop page, and then there's a Microsoft Loop component. And that Microsoft Loop component is the one that you can embed in a Microsoft Teams channel. And it also uses what we call context IQ. So it will bring up suggested references. So if you are working with a Dynamics 365 sales record, you can mention it, and then it'll appear magically in that Microsoft Teams channel within that Microsoft Loop component. But it's even more cooler because you can update the data that you're seeing from Dynamics 365 sales in that Microsoft Loop component in Microsoft Teams, and then it's going to reflect in real time in Dynamics 365. But you can also see who else is updating those different pieces of data against that Dynamics 365 sales record in Microsoft Teams. And I just think it's incredible, just seeing all of this work together and just increasing that collaboration between you and your colleagues to try and streamline a process. I think that's really exciting. So that was one of my exciting moments of Microsoft Ignite, just seeing all of that come together.
Yeah. And that's called the hyper-connected business, right? We used to call it the 360-degree view of the customer and all those other things. But the difference between the two is that hyper-connected also has the context that you were just talking about, right? It's a specific context that's related, and that context AI component is going to help form that context versus showing everything. You're going to show just the spot that they need to see, which is amazing, the fact it's tied to AI and Teams and all the other things. So, what's really hit me at Ignite was the vision all coming together, all the bulbs clicking, right? All the pieces showing. I mean, we've always talked about, you know, if it was on the platform and they just would open up this and they just would open up that. And next thing you know, you've got all these components and pieces in these pseudo products that are being developed by Power Apps, by adding teams, by adding Power Automate and Power BI screens and forms, and building all these custom apps in Dataverse, right? It's not even about Dynamics anymore. It's about building on the Power Platform.
Yeah, and it was so you know, interesting to see how AI is now infused across the Dynamics 365 apps, the Power Platform, and then the greater Microsoft Cloud in terms of the ecosystem. And one of the comments that Satya Nadella said in his opening keynote was, you know, data and AI is going to be bridging the physical and the digital world together. And you really saw that in all of the sessions that appeared afterwards in terms of the different keynotes from the different vice presidents that came after Satya in terms of their keynote for their line of business. So yeah, that was really cool. I was really excited.
Absolutely. Awesome. So welcome, Eric. Eric just joined us. He does look very chill. I'm just glad that he has his shirt on. He's not topless, given how hot it is up in Auckland. We've seen that a few times. So, and Eric is a brand new dad for the second time. So thank you for having the time to joining us, Eric. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Congratulations, Eric! I had no idea. That's
Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah. So new dad, fresh on Tuesday at 9 a.m. So a new little boy. And yeah, that's my highlight of Ignite. So
wow, you must be sleeping well.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's actually not too bad for now. It's gonna start officially tomorrow because my wife is still at the birth center. And so I gotta take care of my other one. So basically I'm doing back and forth. So I'm sleeping at home, taking care of my little one during the evening. So it's not too bad.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Eric. You know, with everything that is happening. So Eric and I have worked together at DXC and also at Westpac. So we've been sort of ex-colleagues. He was Wellington based. Now he moved up to Auckland. Don't ask me why. That's something I never figured out. But yeah, and he's one of the newest MVPs in the team as well. So thanks for joining, Eric. So we were just having sort of conversations about sort of some of those announcements that have been sort of happening. Co-authoring is the one, and sort of collaboration is a theme that we were talking about just before you joined. You know, to me, it's you know, we've seen collaboration sort of happening in sort of office products like, you know, Excel and Word, and, you know, where you get the little pop-up saying who's actually looking at that record, and then you can see them typing, you can see them changing things. And I'm so glad, and it's probably because out of necessity and out of that sort of remote working and, you know, people doing everything virtually, natural progression where they can introduce that sort of part of you know, the model-driven apps and Canvas apps and so on. So not only on the authoring side, as you said, Elaiza, but also from a day-to-day sort of using the platform. And one of the top sort of asks from my customers has always been, how do you know that someone else changed the record? How do you do concurrency control? You know, if someone saved the record and, you know, last one in wins, and you know, how do you manage that? And, you know, I've been waiting so long to tell them, oh, actually, now you know that someone else is in that record, and you know, you have to, you know, just be careful when you're saving it. So I'm so glad that that capability is there. So as you mentioned, Elaiza, there's sort of the Julie Strauss session as well as Ryan Cunningham's session where he was talking about that co-authoring and that sort of collaboration experience, which is absolutely fantastic. So that's really good. Sort of now that Eric is there, there's another topic that I wanted to talk about is the migration from Access to Dataverse. So this is a big topic for me, and I'm sort of quite keen to get some feedback on it, especially with my time when I was working with Eric at sort of financial institutions. Banks in New Zealand are big on Lotus Notes, Access, Excel spreadsheets, and things like that.
I was going to ask, because I haven't heard much access database conversations in a long time. Okay.
Exactly.
They're all in New Zealand,
Exactly.
Chris.
So
Hey.
absolutely. And having those in there, sort of like, you look at them, you're like, oh my God, what is that? What are they still using that? I can't believe that. And it's usually something, good intent, where someone started like a small application 10 years ago that grew in popularity and became an enterprise asset with all the limitation that, Access provides. And now they're giving us a path to actually migrate that. And this is one of the things where I'm really proud to be sort of in the Power Platform business, because we had business with Dynamics 365, and now with all those migration paths from sort of legacy systems to Dataverse and the Power Platform, not necessarily Dynamics 365, but just Dataverse in general, is going to create an immense amount of work, sort of just in the landscape. So, Eric, do you guys see that sort of being used in financial services?
Of course. And we even tried it already. So Westpac as an organization sort of got approval for the private preview before, and we've been looking into this. And actually we're talking about a change in strategy, because what we wanted to do originally was really take the opportunity to move Access to the Power Platform, but sort of relook at the data and do the whole data cleansing and sort of re-solution it. But that solution is literally so easy and such a few clicks that you could have a like for like in Dataverse, right? So the disadvantage is like for like, but you can move your data, right, almost within 15 minutes, and it works pretty seamlessly. There's a few disadvantages or a few limitations, but in general, it's pretty seamless. And so just having it quickly be able to migrate your tables and your data in Dataverse, and then having the leverage the power of the Power Platform is just a big plus, right? So
does it do anything with the form, or is it just the data?
Just the data for now. So tables and data.
But
then it creates another virtual, so you can still use your forms in Access, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it creates back a virtual link to Dataverse. You have like these virtual tables. So you can still use the kind of a hybrid, a mix of those virtual tables that links back to Access or your tables actually in Access, right? But so that's pretty exciting for us, and it's definitely, and Rami knows that being at Westpac is something that we've been starting to look at. So this is definitely going to help our organization with this.
Yeah.
And you were talking about before. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying how before collaboration is a big theme, but not only for developers and engineers. I think one thing I'm also excited is how we see that now collaboration, even with the whole COVID and how that changed a bit the landscape with our solutions to the end users, right? We're seeing that Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform is way more integrated with Teams, and it's more focused, or at least from what I'm seeing, is more focused a bit more on how do we collaborate better on a process for end users versus, I don't know, how do we build in all the smarts or all that automation. It's more on, okay, now everybody's working remotely. How can we have a better solution at the end for our end users to collaborate better? So I thought that was really an interesting sort of message, That
was another lead into the Process Advisor, right? Having the Process Advisor functionality as a Power Automate. Elaiza, you know about that?
Yeah, I do. So process mining is the latest thing that was released. So first of all, they released task mining, and then now they have process mining. So now you can work with both of them side by side. So that's really interesting to see. But what I was going to add to Eric's spiel about Microsoft Access and Dataverse is, if you go and check out the on-demand session at the Microsoft Ignite site, you also see Nathan Helgren. So he is the PM from the Dataverse team who's doing the demo in that session. He will actually demo what you were saying, Chris, where if you make an update on the Microsoft Access form, it's also going to create that new row in Dataverse as well. And he also demonstrates how you can use it with not only Dataverse, but Dataverse for Teams as well. So that option is there. But hey, Eric, one thing that I do recommend that you check out, and I was going to text you earlier today about it, is that in the Microsoft Ignite into Focus business applications session, towards the end, there's a principal program manager, Tom Yang, and he demonstrates the Microsoft Cloud for financial services. And I think you would be really interested in it. You should definitely watch it. Has anyone watched that segment, by the way, in here?
No.
No? Oh, it's so cool. So basically, Tom Yang presents this demo where the customer is Virgin Money, so based in the UK. And it all starts off with a customer. I can't remember the name of that lady, so let's call her Marianne, since we've got Marianne in the call with us. So it all starts off with Marianne receiving an SMS from Virgin Money congratulating her that she's got this new role, and based on a previous conversation, she was interested in getting into the investment space after she got promoted. And with Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services, I think it's integrated with the LinkedIn profile of Marianne, so it kind of knows. So it automatically sends her the SMS. And so as part of that SMS, it says, do you want to book an appointment with one of our investment financial advisors? So then Marianne, with the tap of her finger, she clicks on the link, it brings up the portal on her mobile device. She can schedule that appointment. And then a couple of days before that appointment takes place, a survey is sent out to her and asks her a bunch of questions. And one of the questions that asks her is, what else are you interested in? And she selects, I want to buy my first home, and then it will automatically send her a pre-approval mortgage loan request. So again, she can fill in that form directly from her mobile device. So it's that whole understanding your customer and being proactive before they think about it or action it. So it's helping them reach their financial goals. And then when you flip it from the financial advisor point of view, when they're actually working with the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services app, it gives you like a single view of that customer in terms of their credit history, the current loans that they have, the current accounts that they have, as well as some personal information about them, like whether they're single or married. How they know that, I don't know. But it's really cool. And again, as part of that application process, you can have that call directly within Microsoft Teams. You see that loan application in the background in Microsoft Teams. And it also allows you to collaborate with managers. So if you need an approval from a manager right there while you're on the phone with Marianne, you can do it straight away. And it's really, really cool. And one of the great things that I like about this app is that, when we look at documents, currently it's in the form of a subgrid where you just see rows and columns and that's it. But in the Microsoft in the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services app, you get this beautiful visualization of what's outstanding in terms of what Marianne has not provided yet as part of the application, like a certificate of, of some sort, as well as what document she has provided. So it's no longer in the visualization of a subgrid. It's like this really beautiful visualization. So if you haven't seen that session, check it out. I highly recommend it. I got really excited, even though I don't work in the banking or financial space, but it was a really cool app. And I think that is just one of the Microsoft Cloud apps, so the industry accelerators. There's healthcare and non-profit and some other ones, but yeah.
I just pasted it in the window if you want to just take a look at it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Thanks, Chris, for those. Thanks, Elaiza, for that summary, and thanks, Chris, for the screenshots. I think the first screenshot that you pasted is actually really powerful. So in line with what you were saying, Elaiza, it's around the reporting that you get out of it. And that screenshot, Chris, that you've got in there is about business process optimization. So having a look at all the steps that you follow in your process and then calculating how long each stage is taking, and it will give you hints and ideas using sort of AI just on which process is the one that you should be optimizing and reducing the sort of the time it takes to finish the end-to-end process. So it's really, really cool. And just as a side, I think what I heard from Elaiza is that she's expanding her horizon and she wants to work in the financial market. So she's looking for a job. That's what I heard.
Okay.
As long as she doesn't start talking about AX, we're good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear from Linn. So Linn, what did you like from Ignite?
From the Ignite, what I'm not a lot of all these things. More of there's one thing I noticed about the public preview of the modernized business units, where this is part of the small features for Dataverse, where they decouple the record ownership, the records owning business unit from the record owning user. So like now with this new security concept, the user can have a security role from the different business units, as well as the record owning business units can be different from the record owning user. So in that way, the user can see these records, read contact records for the division business unit A, and like he have the read-write access for the contacts in the business unit B. Previously, we had to use the walk around with the teams and adding the users from the team in different business units. So that is now possible with this new feature. So that's one of my favorite announcements.
Yeah. I'm really glad you mentioned it, Linn, because that's what I'm interested in as well. Like this whole change from the ownership of a person or a team into the ownership to a business unit, which makes absolute sense. This is a topic that is close to Neil's heart because he loves the security role editor that has been around for about 105 years. So it's it's good to see it, and we haven't seen a lot of sort of security related updates for a while. Like the last one that I can remember is maybe the sort of access teams that they introduced maybe in 2013, 17. Yeah, something like that, a very long time ago. So it's good to see that there is some thoughts put into, how can we improve that, the whole security structure.
Yeah. Where did Linn go?
She's still there. She's just a bit shy now.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just about to hand over to her to talk a little bit about AI. Linn, was there sort of another topic that you want to cover?
No, just a tiny thing regarding that co-authoring of the Power Apps Studio. It's not directly related to that, but it is a bit related to that, how we can do the comments in the Power Apps and Power Automate and Power Virtual Agent Studio. So we can, just like what's online, Excel Online, we can open up the comments tab, and we can make the comments for this particular app or flow, and then we can even mention another maker so that they get the notification inside their mailbox, and they can go and check it out based on the comment suggestion. That's what is now available as a preview at the moment. So while we're waiting for this the co-authoring experience, that's where we can start off.
Absolutely, and I see that just as the tip of the iceberg of a lot of things that are sort of coming up, and it does sort of ignite a lot of new ideas about what you can do with that capability and how it can evolve with time. That's really cool. I want to talk a little bit about sort of Neil, go ahead.
So I have a question for those of you who know more about the co-authoring experience, but several people at Microsoft in the Fast Track and Microsoft Consulting Services recommend for enterprise projects that each developer has their own environment. Then solutions are exported and imported into a build environment, and you manage all of that through your ALM toolset. Does that break down with this co-authoring idea? Is it really just for small micro teams building Canvas apps, or do you think it's going to come over into enterprise teams? I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
So what I could tell you is that they've now taken that team concept into they got a new name. It's now called a focus team. And
Fusion
that
team?
focus team is those group of people that are working together, as you're saying, kind of like a pod, that are building it in the same environment, right? Right. Not what we're traditionally used to from a developer perspective. Remember, this is more around the low code, no code person doing it versus what we would traditionally do for a developer who's building something, right? So I think all of that, including the newly announced Power Platform adoption workbook. I don't know if you saw that. That also is another one that's all of these trends are towards that, Neil, of how do we govern these guys with the COE and you know, because everyone goes and sees Ignite, and then the next thing you know, you got 50 apps in the morning, right? Because everybody went off and built these apps. So they're really focusing on governance and control and sharing and working together to build these apps. But I agree with you. It's going to be at a different, it still may be enterprise, but it's going to be business level, not developer level.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and just around that topic, there's also the recommendation that sort of each solution should have its own environment, right? So as we're building all those managed solutions, then you need to make sure that you've got the right layering, and if you're working on a solution, then to have it in there. And this is where you can slice it and dice it in different ways based on how big your teams are or how small you are. But definitely like having this co-authoring experience if, for example, you're working on one solution and a couple of people working on it, as opposed to having their own environment, as Chris said, for more of a low-code, no-code sort of experience, then that's the way to go. There's also like an accelerator that Microsoft provides from the CAT team, just around ALM, setting up environments, and all of that is driven by a Canvas app. So you can click a button, create your new environment, you can deploy the solutions onto it, you can push it back to Git, you can do PRs, you can do sort of merging and so on. So there's a lot of really cool capabilities that are available out there, which is really fantastic. I was just about to hand over to Eric just to ask about sort of his experience in that space, because I know they work with large teams and big sort of big implementations. But yeah, so if you're ready, Eric, you can sort of cover that topic. Otherwise, we can move on.
No, yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
So I guess there's two parts to it, because there are two scenarios. One is you're working with a non-green, right, and an existing implementation, right, that's been there and there's a large team, and normally or typically they would use a sort of unmanaged solution just because it's been live and it's been there quite some time, and that was, if I could say, the more popular approach back then. And that, in terms of environments and all, from what I've seen, and so far my recommendation is one shared environment. Yes, Anna, do you want to say hi? Yeah. No. So, hey guys.
No.
After.
Take care.
It's all right if you have to look after your daughter,
all right.
Eric. That's
I'll
okay.
be back. I'll be back.
Okay, cool, awesome. So the other topic that sort of was really key to me is all the enhancements that we're seeing with sort of the AI capabilities, AI Builder. You know, being in Wellington, which is the political capital of New Zealand, I'm surrounded by sort of the public sector and government organizations. And we have a lot of paper forms sort of coming in that have to be digitized and put into a case management system. And usually that's Dynamics 365 with customer service. And AI Builder and, you know, the form recognition capability is really awesome in terms of getting this information, digitizing it, and then putting it into the right forms and the right processes so that you can progress with it. But one of the things that was missing for a while is the checkbox. We didn't have the capability to find this checkbox on a form and then turn that into a value in Dynamics 365. And finally, now they've introduced that in there. So there's quite a few things about AI Builder, but I'm just wondering if anybody is interested to sort of just highlight some of those things or talk about the things that they really liked about the AI Builder capability.
I just pasted one in the window for you on the opportunity scoring, right? As a part of Sales Insights, you can enable in this release the opportunity scoring capabilities, which goes through, it looks at your opportunities, and it tells you your score percentage on if you're going to close or win that opportunity. So prediction model out of the box, right? So the cool thing is that you don't have to know R or any of that stuff to build any of these models. They're building more and more models, and to your point, keep making them better and better and better, right, Ron?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of sort of enhancements in there, but also sort of from out of the box models, and now they're talking about bringing your own model, which is really, really powerful. So you don't really have to build it with AI Builder, but you can use it, use the Azure services to build your AI models and then reference them in AI Builder, which I think is really fantastic. So Chris, you mentioned that, it's not about CRM anymore or Dynamics 365. It's about the entire ecosystem, integrating it with Teams, integrating it with, Azure services, with the AI capabilities. It's really big. And I think you were the ones that mentioned that, back in the early days of the MVP program, we knew CRM and we knew it inside out. CRM 4.0, we even knew like the database and we used to hack it and we knew everything about it. But now to keep sort of on top of the breadth of the product and all the integration points with all those different capabilities is absolutely sort of difficult to do that. But we can see it happening, right? So we can see all of those converging together and actually providing that end-to-end experience. Another good example is, the convergent apps. So bringing model-driven and Canvas apps together, where now you can have those custom pages. And I love it because, they mentioned it in one of the MVP summits, and they said, why do I have to worry about whether I'm doing model-driven now or I'm doing Canvas? Why do I have to make that call up front? Why can't I just say, I'm writing an app, and then that will evolve to whatever it is, and I can take bits from Canvas app, bits from sort of a model-driven app, and build that experience that best suits the scenario that I've got at hand. Same thing with sort of the App Store that we talked about previously. People don't care whether you're doing Canvas or model-driven or a Power App. They just want that app on their phone that does exactly what it's supposed to do. So it's breaking that sort of silo and just providing the best experience to the user. So I think this is really awesome and really powerful.
But they've also gone one step further. So in Ryan Cunningham's demo in the InterFocus session, so the customer was Xerox, and when he was doing the demo, he demonstrated how you can create a new custom page, like Rami said, and you can then go and build your Canvas app. But what was really cool was he showed how to add a gallery into the Canvas app, but then one of the new features that's coming, so it appears on the right-hand side as a pane, and you could select a tab, and in there you can type in your query, and what is running behind that query is GPT-3. So it's this powerful natural language query. So if you're not familiar with the formulas or the expressions that you use in Canvas apps, you can now type it in. So the demo that he did was something like print speed in the last 30 days. It was something around that. And then beneath it, you could see the formula automatically generated for you. So you no longer have to dig through the documentation online to find the correct reference to use when you're building your formula. You can do it directly within this single field that appears on the right-hand side, and then you can apply that automatically generated formula to your component in the Canvas app. And to me, that was really cool. But it wasn't the only place that we saw that natural language query in action. We also saw it in Power BI. So that was in Will Thompson's presentation when he was talking about how 3M uses it. And in there, he was highlighting how in Power BI, again, you can enter your own type of query in your own words rather than in the DAX expression. But then after that DAX expression was automatically generated, he pretty much selected it and then dragged it on top of the chart, and then it was applied. And I was just like, "What? This is so cool!"
Yeah.
And it's just
for more context. I mean, he basically said, "I want to see all customer orders from 12/20/21." Right? That's what he actually said in the window, and it went off and did it. So pretty cool stuff.
Incredible. And it's that whole trying to get more people on board to be a developer, whether you're a low code, no code person that doesn't have that experience versus a pro code or first code developer. So it's bringing everyone together, and that was really cool to see. And beyond the underneath the hood in terms of understanding the formulas that you need to work with, there was a session from April. So April Dunham, she's in the dev advocacy team, and one of her colleagues, Omalemo, he was showing how you can build UI in Canvas apps. So it was, again, taking it to another level where they're showing you how you can change the look and feel of Canvas apps. And they really did a great job, because anyone who was watching that for the first time and not knowing what Canvas apps was, Omalemo displayed it in a very slow and succinct manner that it was easy for everyone to understand. So again, that's on demand, so you can watch that and get started with changing the look and feel of the Canvas apps. Because let's be honest, when you see it for the first time and you add a gallery, you're just like, oh, okay, this kind of looks average. But taking it to the next level, yeah, go and watch your session. And they actually do it alongside a Microsoft Learn module, which is also available. I'll go and find it, and I'll put it in the chat now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, very good point. I love GPT-3, and I've been sort of using it since the sort of private preview times, and I can see a lot of potential in it. But as you said, not just from an authoring perspective, but also from a sort of from an end user perspective. So someone, rather than go into the advanced find, click on it, and then go and search things, I would love to see GPT-3 over there. Like, you know, as you said, rather than do it in Power BI, just do it in Dataverse and say, you know, give me the last, sales that I've done for the last month, and then it can show you all this information automatically. Sort of, if you wanted like a GPT-3 powered Fetch XML builder, maybe we can ask Jonas to build us one like that. That would be really good. So talking about sort of all those AI capabilities and also the collaboration and sort of that this move from from customers to use Dataverse. As opposed to just having to, stick with legacy systems. Maybe I'll sort of hand over the conversation to Michael. So you being new at Microsoft and sort of having sort of a look at the customers around and sort of all the different things that they're interested in, do you see that appetite to actually use those Canvas apps or model-driven apps, Dataverse specifically, the migration path, all the AI capabilities that Microsoft is introducing, and especially the collaboration within teams where, you know, Dynamics and Dataverse and Teams are one and the same. You can just go into whatever channel and the changes will appear in there.
Yeah, I've got to say the last couple of days of me trawling through and trying to absorb as much content as possible in and around boot camps and other fun things I've got on has been a little overwhelming. I think some of the stuff I've seen, especially around things like Microsoft Loop, as I think Elaiza pointed out, like that just blows your mind when you can just at a thing, it completely populates a nice little widget. You can then go in and interact with it, full collab. Like it's freaking awesome. The thing that I will find very interesting in the next, I guess, 6 to 12 months is some of our bleeding edge customers. And so I specifically work in public sector. So there's obviously less use cases for things like AI. They're a little bit shy of AI. But some of those other use cases, like a lot of the collaboration stuff, people like NZTE who are bleeding edge when it comes to a lot of the D365 stuff, what they can start to do with those things. Because it's always the real life use cases is what intrigues me. Because customers always find new and interesting ways to use the technology and sometimes break it. So that's what I'm quite excited about. And I do see that there's so much scope, especially in public sector, for digitization because they're so broken. Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed by the whole thing. And the other thing I noticed, I thought I'd just add my 2 cents here, that was quite interesting to me is all the voice stuff. So starting to bring in the team's voice capabilities directly into Dynamics. Yep. So really starting to compete with your Genesises and your Avayas and your Amazons, and providing that complete solution for someone who just wants a customer service in a box is pretty damn cool.
You know, I already had seen like the Teams integration, so I knew about that. But what really, really got me was when they were typing in a Teams channel with people all around the world, and it was automatically translating what that person said into my language while I was watching in the same channel. That was unbelievable. The whole text went, bloop. It was written in, I don't know what language it was in, but you saw it convert right in front of your eyes as it was being spoken by the person right in the team.
Yeah,
so global teams and collaboration, no more boundaries between, you know, talking your native language and working your native language and still be able to understand and communicate with each other was another big part of that interconnected voice stuff that you were talking about.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the automatic sort of voice responses, rather than having something like PVA do the response is absolutely gold. And as you said, Chris, like that transcription and also the visualization of that transcription where you can see, you know, person A has been talking and then you can see a graph showing you where they were talking and person B took over and then person A took that. You can visualize how the conversation flew, and then you can just search for a specific key term and you can go back to exactly when they mentioned that and then go back to the conversation. It's amazing.
It even had this voice print across the bottom. So when you're listening to a call in Teams and it records the call. So if I'm talking to you, I forgot what you told me, right? I just play back your area and it gives me all your responses to my questions. And I can go pick with, like, you know, hey, Chris, I want this, or I need this at the end of the call. And it was right there. So just
absolutely.
I can't wait to build the next generation of apps with this stuff, you know? And really take the next level. I'll tell you, back when we all started in the early days, there was a lot of things, Neil, we couldn't do, right?
Yeah,
but
that was sci-fi.
I find it very difficult to say that I can't do it anymore.
Exactly.
Well, I still can't do it, Chris, but you can.
No, absolutely. And then add sentiment analysis to that. And, you know, you've got a really, really cool solution where you can sort of manage conversations and so on. So we're just on top of the hour. And I know a few people drop off the call. It's tea time sort of in New Zealand. And I know, Chris, it's very, very late where you are, sort of in the early hours of the morning. But yeah, I would just like to thank you all guys for participating in this conversation. It's really good to see the insight from all the different angles, people with different backgrounds, different sort of industries, and different disciplines actually that they've worked on. So thank you very much for everybody that joined. And yeah, so next Saturday on the 13th is the sort of New Zealand Business Application Summit. So if you're interested, please join us. It's going to be a lot of fun and tons of information. And now with Ignite out of the way, we can go and reference all of that stuff. So it's really, really cool stuff. So thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy your night. Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Great to see everybody.
Bye.
Bye.